Speaking of Houston, because like all of us mentioned Houston as being a true contender, what were your thoughts on Houston versus Kansas City to kind of start to talk about what happened a little bit last week before we get into maybe a little bit of this week?
Pretty much what Kyle said, just talking about like jail ball defense, hard hitting, like no catch is going to go unpunished, even if it's like a catch for a screen pass. They're going to try to pick you up and fucking slam you on the ground. It is fun to watch them play defense. It's not fun to watch them play offense. So that's where they're like this team that I could see not a lot of people having a lot of faith in them. Coming into that week, they were the only team in the league that hadn't allowed a top 12 QB performance. I thought that Kansas City would figure out a way to get that done. Nope. Houston's that team. I think they'll be that team for the rest of the year. It's going to be a pretty damn good defense going forward. I really like them as a defense. I think if they run into Buffalo early, that's where I think it could come crashing down, because I do have confidence that Buffalo could win like a 17-14 game and just, eliminate them early, which would be good for the rest of the AFC. So
True that. Texans are the team you don't want to see if you're an AFC team. What I'm going to remember about this game, like everything Tim said is correct. Like the Texans squeezed the life out of the Chiefs in this game, but they caused them to panic. That 4th and 1 call, like we talked about jail ball, the Chiefs were like matching them on defense, right? Which is why that first
Chris Jones in the second half was disgusting. He was all man possessed.
Yeah.
That's why it was so troubling to me when they go for that 4th and 1 or 4th and whatever it was on their own 30 with 8 to 6, I think it was 6 minutes left with your defense.
Yeah, there was no need to go for that.
Playing great. It'd be one thing if Stroud was carving them up, then okay. If you really think your defense can't stop them, by all means. They got desperate. They got scared. They went for it. They got the drop. Mahomes made the play. They got the drop, but point is, you need not to go for that. Then they went for it the second time, which made a little more sense. But I mean, Houston's offense had no life. They were automatically in field goal range after that play. They do go down and kick the field goal. I mean, they just made it so challenging and troubling on themselves when they didn't have to, which you don't see from championship teams. So, disappointing from the Chiefs in that regard, because they shot themselves in the foot when they could have just, here you go, it's your turn to hold serve. And I'm pretty sure their defense would have held serve. Pretty sure their defense was going to do the job. So
they've done it all year. They shot themselves in the foot against the Jags. They couldn't get off the field against Denver. They obviously couldn't stop Dallas. Like, it's just like they just continuously get in these situations.
I do want to add
last night.
I want to add just one last thing, Keaton. I forgot to respond earlier. You said when the Chiefs disappointed you, like part of it is how Mahomes is playing. I think Mahomes has been playing like this since 2023. I think they've gotten away with so much these last 2 years, especially last year when he won 4 games. But I think it all really caught up with them this season. And that's why I was so big on like, if they're not winning 11, 12 games, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoff. Like that was my whole thing. Granted, I had them at 10 games, but it was the whole reason is because, they are good. Yeah, they probably are more talented, but Mahomes has not played at Josh Allen's level or even what Lamar was playing at the last 2 years. Really, he was coming away with the wins and even what Burrow played at last year, but he wasn't necessarily elevating his team. He was doing just enough. And this year, I mean, he's had 2 really good games that I can think of, one being against Dallas. But I mean, he hasn't taken off the way we would have assumed he would, especially at this point in his career. He's supposed to be in his prime right now. And he's kind of falling off.
Yeah.
He's kind of falling off.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those. He's played 4 really good games, but 3 that we're going to fully count. It's against the Cowboys, against the Lions, and against the Ravens. He was super great in those games. And he played really well against the Raiders, but it's the Raiders. So, yes, he played well against the Raiders, so you count that one. But, yeah. The thing with Mahomes that's more shocking to me, in the last couple years, yes, he statistically wasn't great, but in the biggest moments, he was always going to make the play. And yes, I understand that there's been drops too this year. There was also drops in 2022 when they won the championship then. There's been some drops, but it's also been Mahomes missing. Like that's
That's
the
been the
thing
last
that
2 years
like
as well.
has been more that's been more shocking is like even last year a lot of the time like he's missed early but late it was always crisp and clean and that's why they got so many wins. I understand that there were things at the end of those games too that had happened, but he was still crisp and clean late in games, which is what kind of separated him and why you still felt okay, Mahomes is going to be Mahomes. This year it hasn't been the same. So going into it, when you look at his stats, it's really shocking to just like look at his first 5 years and then these last 3 years. It's like, did he peak early ish, like statistically? And it's really weird because you would think a guy like Mahomes wouldn't do that. And maybe he can have, I'm not saying he's washed or anything like that, but there could be a resurgence, but there needs to be like a resurgence because statistically seeing 27-14, 26-11, 26-10 this year, I think like that's just not elite quarterbacking, especially when we watched in your first full season starting 50 touchdowns, 38-6, 37-16, 41-12, like playing at that elite level. And then you have people like Lamar, Josh, Bro, even Baker last year was 41-16. Like you're not even getting 30 touchdowns, and some of the elite quarterbacks in the league, pretty much most of them are getting at least a 30. He should get the 30 this year, which will be good for him. But overall, that was that. And then the last thing I just wanted to say on that game was it reminded me a little bit of when the Patriots lost to Tennessee in the playoffs. This was not a playoff game, but when I watched them play like in the playoffs and after their Super Bowl run of AFC Championship games, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, I was like, yeah, this might be at the end of this era. Like it just felt like, yeah, this might be like Gronk was getting older and kind of just because he was getting beat up. Obviously, there was the rumblings of Brady, and I was like, it might be the end of this Patriots specific era, and it obviously was because Brady left after that season. But it's kind of what I felt this year. Like Travis Kelce most likely will retire. They're gonna have to retool. There's too much athleticism in other teams. Like the Texans aren't going anywhere. That defense is going to be real, and the offense is only going to hopefully get better. Obviously, New England should be getting better. Buffalo's going to stay the same. The Bengals shouldn't hopefully be injured this year. The Ravens are going to still be there. The Colts, if they are able to figure out the quarterback position now that Daniel Jones is out with the Achilles, like they should be there. So like there's a lot of things there where the Chiefs will obviously be in the mix, but they might not, like they've been head and shoulders or at least above the rest of the league for the most part. It doesn't feel like that's going to be the case moving forward.
I do definitely get some vibes of it coming to an end. I personally still think, I think actually this year Mahomes has been, I do agree that the last 2 years before this were kind of like, he wasn't impressive. He would win football games, but he wasn't making like crazy throws. He wasn't like Kyle said, elevating the team way above everybody else. It wasn't anything like that. He was just playing good enough football to win enough games and then make a playoff run, go to a Super Bowl. This year, I think he's actually been playing better, much better. He's looked a little bit better, making a lot of throws. It might just be recency bias, but I think a lot of it is on wide receivers. It's not just like Rashee Rice this week and Travis Kelce this week. He's had a lot of other misses with wide receivers catching balls, dropping stuff. So it does kind of feel like it's coming to an end because, like you said, Kelsey's probably gone. I don't think Hollywood's going to be there for very long. I think Juju's already pretty much gone. Like both running backs could easily leave. They need a new one of those.
Worthy needs to take that next step. It's really Patrick Mahomes, Rashee Rice, Josh Simmons at tackle are like your three future picks offensively, and then Chris Jones. We'll see how long he stays.
Defensively, they only have a couple guys. Like you said, Chris Jones, when we were watching the Texans Chiefs game, I texted the group chat. It's crazy that I even said this in 2025, but I said Chris Jones legacy game. He hasn't been good this year. He's been like mid at best this year, which is crazy to say because he is a top 5 defensive tackle and he is a game wrecker. We just haven't seen it like at all. They really have Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, and then I know I'm forgetting one of their linebackers.
Leo Chanel has been pretty solid.
Who's the other backer that I can't?
There's Drew Tranquil. There's hold on.
The one with the dreads.
Nick Bolton.
Nick Bolton, that's the one. Those are like the pieces, and then after that, it's kind of like they don't have the pass rush that they've had. And the last few years, it has a lot of that pass rush has just been sacks. It's been Steve Spagnuolo dialing up crazy blitz packages. And when you play a team like CJ Stroud, that's going to work a lot of the time. They do need to hit a lot of pieces. They need more wide receiver depth. They need probably a tight end. They need a running back. They're going to need offensive line pieces now because they got both tackles, I think, out right now. Like, there's a lot of pieces right now before we can say that they're going to enter back into the dynasty conversation, I think. I think this could be 1, 2, 3 years, maybe. I think 3 years would probably be the max before I would say they're, like, back to a Super Bowl team every year.
Yeah, and realistically, like, it just doesn't, like, we always think because obviously they had such a great run for 7 years, and then we see what Brady did early and then Brady did late, 8 straight AFC championship games, and obviously 3 Super Bowls in 4 years to start. In between, you had some great years and also you had some down years, but like, usually it's in a 4-year increment with these teams. Like, you get a cycle, and then you have to pay for a bunch of people. Like the Seahawks, where they peaked, they had their time, and they went down. The Broncos, they peaked, they had their time, they went down. Like, that's all. Like, that's the ebbs and flows of the NFL, and it just seems like this is going to be that. They've extended it much longer, so shout out to the Chiefs because they've done something that only a few other teams have ever done. But like, that's just the ebbs and flows. I mean, the Patriots did go 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. They did go to 2. They lost both of them, but like, they were the Mark Sanchez we get blown out years, or the Ray Rice 80-yard touchdown to start a game. And the year we lost to the Broncos, the Champ Bailey Broncos in the playoffs early, and just there's a lot of bad, like a lot of in-between years other than the 2007 year and the 2012 where we got to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like Skip Bayless or someone like that, but I truly feel like the league caught up to me when it comes to the Chiefs, because I really haven't thought the Chiefs were a great team their 2 last Super Bowl years. The year they won against the Niners, and then last year where they make it against the Eagles. And that's why I was so big on, like, exactly what you're saying. Like, this is kind of a gap year almost, or kind of like an in-between eras year. Like, I was fairly certain that was going to be the case. And I even agreed with y'all, like, before the year. We all agreed, like, this is going to be their best offense in a while. I just thought between their schedule, between how they looked the last couple of years, I even stumbled across a clip the other day, like, where I asked, I think it was the 4 of us, I think we had Brandon here, and I asked y'all around this time last year, I'm like, you guys think Mahomes' best years are behind him? And I think by and large, everyone was like, no, like, it's kind of crazy. It kind of, I mean, you kind of just mentioned it yourself, Ian. So, like, you just never know with this team. I did say before the year, I do think that I was going to buy stock in next year's Chiefs. Now I'm kind of even questioning that. I do think, like Tim said, I think it could be this year and next year, kind of a rebuild, 10-win kind of thing, and then maybe that third year where they could go off. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them back in the mix next year. They're going to be, it all depends on how they retool.
They'll be in the playoff mix for sure. They'll be in the playoff mix, and if they're in the playoffs, you don't doubt them. You don't want to bet against them because of the guy they have at quarterback. But they need a running back for sure. They need to get that running game going. When they were most dangerous, especially offensively, is because Kareem Hunt was at pinnacle. Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, pretty good offensive line. And then Mahomes chucking that thing around. I think, like, getting Jeremiah Love would be like my number 1 pick in this draft. Like he is, Jeremiah Love's gonna be special. Like, and like, he's gonna be special out of Notre Dame. Like, if they got something like that, okay, you're like, okay, now maybe this team could be back in a year. Yeah, and the thing is, they have a pick now that possibly could be top 14.
Yeah, they're gonna be picking in the mid first, so they could definitely get Love wherever they.
Yeah, so something
from.
like that.
It's crazy because when we think Chiefs, we think they're picking 29th overall at the earliest.
Right. Yeah.
So.
One thing I do want to say, you mentioned his name, Keenan, Xavier Worthy. Like, we all were like, how could the Bills give up that pick and let them take Worthy ahead of him when that could have been a weapon for Josh Allen? He has been so disappointing this year. I thought for sure, like, if it was going to happen for them, I thought we were going to at least see some Tyreek Light moments from Xavier Worthy. He really had
Mhm.
one good game when he came back from injury, and it's been crickets for him. So they need him to pop in a
Yes.
big way for them to have any sort of success. Because if they just miss on that pick, or they have to trade him, or if he, they lose him in free agency, I mean, that's going to be a big part of maybe why they don't do something big. That was the case with Brady in the later
Yes.
years, where the receivers just didn't pan out. Worthy is someone they had big stock in being like Tyreek Light. Yeah.
No, 100%. I agree with that 100%.